In the 19th century, the United States was torn apart by a conflict that would shape the nation's history and redefine its identity. Welcome to our documentary on the American Civil War, a pivotal moment in American history that pitted brother against brother and forever changed the course of the nation. By the mid-19th century, tensions over slavery and states' rights had reached a breaking point. The North and the South found themselves at odds over the future of the institution of slavery and the balance of power between the federal government and individual states. The conflict would ultimately lead to the bloodiest war in American history. On one side, the Union, led by President Abraham Lincoln, fought to preserve the Union and abolish slavery. On the other side, the Confederacy, led by President Jefferson Davis, fought for the right to secede from the Union and protect their way of life. For 4 long years, from 1861 to 1865, the nation was consumed by war. Battlefields were soaked in blood, and families were torn apart. Brother fought against brother, and friends became enemies. The American Civil War was a clash between two competing visions of America. The North believed in the idea of a united, indivisible nation, while the South championed states' rights and the preservation of their economic and social systems, which were deeply tied to the institution of slavery. The war not only had a profound impact on the United States but also reverberated throughout the world. It challenged notions of democracy, freedom, and equality, and inspired movements for social change. The American Civil War was a brutal conflict. From the First Battle of Bull Run to the decisive Battle of Gettysburg, and finally, General Robert E. Lee's surrender at Appomattox Courthouse, the war took a heavy toll on both sides. One of the war's most significant outcomes was the emancipation of millions of enslaved African Americans. President Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation declared that all slaves in Confederate territory were to be set free. As the war drew to a close, the nation faced the daunting task of reconstruction and healing the wounds of war. The process was long and arduous, and it would take years for the United States to recover and rebuild. Today, the legacy of the American Civil War can still be felt across the United States. It serves as a reminder of the struggles and sacrifices that were made to preserve the Union and extend freedom to all its citizens.